Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Kenzie's Krimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people have done to me.
She says Heaven's Gate away team.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for another edition of Kenzie's Krimes, examining a murder mystery drama in our area, wherever you can hear us. That's where this stuff occurred. So what do you got today, Kenzie?
I know this is a story of betrayal. So Michael Armendariz was born in Glendale Heights on June 27th, 1997. He had a loving family, mom, dad, 3 brothers, lots of boys in the house. Michael's life wasn't easy, but he was described as a very positive person. He loved his family more than anything, and he was actually an aspiring musical artist. His mother described him as free-spirited, but clarified not rebellious, just free-spirited, as a mother would, right?
You know what genre of music he was into?
I am not sure, but at 20 years old, he had an apartment with a roommate in Naperville. Heartbreakingly, the last time anyone would ever see him would be at 9:30 p.m., leaving his apartment on January 14th, 2018. His roommate saw him leave the apartment and get into a black Ford Explorer who was driven by a childhood friend named Cassandra Green. The two had actually known each other since he had been just 11 years old. Apparently, the two had planned to drive to Walmart together and, steal a little bottle of liquor, as many underage can't drink yet people do. What Michael didn't realize is that his childhood friend had a completely different plan for that night.
Oh, boy.
And I'm actually going to pause right there.
Wow.
Because this is where the betrayal kicks in, and it is crazy the lengths that are gone to.
All right. We'll see what happens next to the conclusion of Kenzie's Krimes in 3 minutes. It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with the conclusion of Kenzie's Krimes, which sounds like a lot of betrayal, which I hate. Hate betrayal.
Hot take.
Not happy about
I
it.
hate it.
Yeah.
One of the things I associate most with you is your hatred of betrayal.
Oh, yeah.
Not a fan.
That's terrible.
Michael Armendariz, he was a young man who had a roommate. He was 20 years old, lived in Naperville, and he met up with his childhood friend, Cassandra Green. It was actually the last time anyone had ever seen him. He was picked up in a black Ford Explorer on January 14th, 2018. So Cassandra Green had shown her boyfriend, Ernest Collins, who lived in Rockford, and his mother, Candace Jones, photos of Michael on social media posing with large amounts of cash, and they decided to come up with a scheme to rob him. So about 5 minutes after Cassandra picked up Michael on the night of his disappearance, her boyfriend, Ernest Collins, who had been hiding in the back, emerged and shot Michael twice in the back of the head while the car was still in motion.
Oh, my God.
Totally gruesome. The couple then drove to the home of Ernest's mother, Candace Jones, who lived in Chicago. When they arrived at her home, they removed Michael's body from the car, went through his pockets, removed his wallet, a vaping pen, his apartment keys, and a phone. They then placed his body in a blue recycling bin and put his body in the garage. Later, Candace told her son to move Michael's body into the garage of a vacant home next door.
Evil people.
Ugh, pure evil. The next day, Ernest and Cassandra burglarized the home of that dead man. The three had tried unsuccessfully to rob Michael on at least 4 occasions prior to January 14th. The first attempt being in December, so about a month earlier. They'd even bought lockpicks online and tried to break into his apartment, and they were unsuccessful. Each failed attempt brought more and more aggravation. So unfortunately, Michael was almost the product of all their failed attempts, where they just were like, we're just going to kill him, which is so sick. Candace, the mother, who was 38 at the time, is believed to be the mastermind of the crime and provided her son with the gun to shoot Michael.
Jeez.
Telling her 22-year-old son, you are going to do this, while handing it to him. The day after Michael was killed, the mom also threatened the girlfriend, Cassandra. telling her she would kill her and her mother if she told anyone. This woman is vicious, putting this on her son and then the girlfriend. And not to be this person, but they weren't robbing like a billionaire by any means. These are great lengths for a 20-year-old kid who was by no means rich.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about, like, the money he was flashing online. So that's the lesson, is to look poor on social media. Don't do what they want you to do.
Well, and how unreal is social media? If anything, he was probably trying to put on a front because you're 21. He probably doesn't even have what they thought he had, right? So several days after Michael's murder, he was reported missing after failing to show up to work. This is where it gets wild. I know it was already wild, but Candace Jones herself, the mother, called Chicago's 311 lines prior to them finding the body. And when officers came to address her complaints of a strange odor coming from the vacant home next door, she told the investigators she felt like it was Michael Armendariz' body in the garage and he wanted his soul to be set free. She's the one who called in that there was a strange odor. She led them to the body.
Well, what was her answer to, like, knowing who was in there? I took a peek and it's this guy.
Yeah, she but you led them to the body. I mean, maybe she thought it would come across as strange. Like, didn't you smell this?
Right.
I don't know. Like, when people try to be part of the search party so they don't look guilty, I feel like she was trying to do that.
I've been part of search parties before, the same reason.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that later.
I'll get lumped in.
So after Michael's body was discovered, police were able to tie Ernest and his girlfriend Cassandra through social media records of the black SUV. They saw the damn car, okay, in which Cassandra had been pulled over by police right before Michael's death.
Yeah.
So there's records of her driving it right before she was pulled over. The three had burned the blanket, like that tarp that he was wrapped in, and the items removed from Michael's pockets in a fire pit. Investigators were actually able to recover the burnt remnants of those, including the phone that they believed belonged to Michael. They were also able to recover weapons and the shell casings in the SUV.
Pretty open and shut case, I think.
I mean, it's unbelievable. They also had a blood stain in the SUV that, of course, matched Michael's DNA. So they did an awful job. Clearly, they're not masterminds just based off all their prior, but...
They haven't seen the movie The Town like Case has seen by now, where you throw bleach everywhere, at least to cover up something.
It's like they did nothing. It's unbelievable. Candace and her son Ernest were found guilty by a jury in the first-degree murder and as well as armed robbery in 2023. This past Wednesday, November 13th, 2024, a judge sentenced Ernest to 70 years on the murder charge and 21 years on the armed robbery charge.
Good.
His mother was sentenced to 40 years on the murder charge and 21 on armed robbery, and they are required to serve their full sentences. Cassandra, the girlfriend, entered a plea of guilty to one count of armed robbery with a firearm in exchange for cooperation, so she helped out with a lot of details on this case.
She ratted on the mom.
Period.
You do not throw that down on the girlfriend and don't think it's going to come back to you somehow.
Exactly.
She went at the mom.
So on November 13th, 2023, Green was sentenced to 21 years overall.
Kenzie's Crimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people had done to me.
See, says Heaven's Gate away team.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Well, there it is, Kenzie's Crimes. If you missed any of it, came in on the end, remember, it's all in the podcast feed, the Brian and Kenzie podcast, Q101.com, Spotify, Apple, and, of course, the newly redesigned Q101 app. It's free, and it's amazing, so you should download it, get it there. Coming up in news and entertainment news, music entertainment news, $1 million of tequila stolen. Whose was it? Who did it? We'll have that in 10 minutes.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with Stone Double Pilots. Lauren's coming in, take it through the rest of this gloomy Tuesday. And Case, what do you got for takeaway so far?
Double Features Mike checked in his takeaway. Cream soda means cream soda.
Remember that going forward.
That was very confusing for some people today. Some people, not me.
I don't appreciate the eye contact during this.
Some people were confused by the meaning of cream soda.
I was asking if it was creamy or if it tasted like cream soda.
What you mean, some people? Some people will get that joke. All right, Kenzie, what do you got?
219 texted in. Takeaway. Mrs. Frufflepants is unfireable.
Facts. And finally, Maddie checked in from 630. Takeaway, Spirit Airlines. But did you die, though?
Period.
What's on the podcast case?
Well, it's a really dramatic day on the podcast because not only is there a new Kenzie's Krimes, there's a clash with Kenzie where something that has never happened before happened. There is, of course, our pouring one out for Spirit Airlines today and Kenzie's very fiery recantance of her Spirit Airlines experience.
That's one way to say it.
And
Down
of course,
with them.
down with them. And of course, you guys broke the show today. The show stopped working. And if you missed how that happened, you can catch up on the Brian and Kenzie podcast.
Miss a moment, miss a lot. Go to Spotify, Apple, or the newly redesigned Q101 app for all our podcasts. Do it.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.